Hello everyone, welcome to Dr. J. Jaishankar's lecture series in Commerce, episode 7. The topic for today's discussion is insurance. The underlying principle of insurance is that the loss of a few is shared by many. The loss of a few is shared by many. I will give you a very simple example to make you understand the concept of insurance. Suppose there are 100 car owners in a particular locality and they want to have their cars insured. The insurance company, let us suppose, charges a premium of rupees 10,000 per car. So it collects a total premium of rupees 10 lakhs from all the 100 car owners. Suppose in the course of the year, 10 of the car owners make a claim for loss as their cars are damaged in road accidents. Let us suppose the insurance company pays a claim of rupees 4 lakhs altogether. Let us also assume that the administrative expenses of the insurance company for the year work out to rupees 3 lakhs. Still, the insurance company is left with a profit of rupees 3 lakhs. This is how the business of insurance is done. Of course, I have given you a very simple example only to make you understand the concept of insurance. Now let us see what is a contract of insurance. A contract of insurance is a contract whereby one person called the insurer agrees to make good the loss caused to another called the insured on the happening of an uncertain future event in consideration of the payment he receives called the premium. So the person who agrees to make good the loss is called the insurer or the underwriter. The person whose loss is made good is called the insured, the assured or the policy holder. And the consideration the insurance company receives from the policy holder is what is called the premium. Basically, there are two types of insurance. One is life insurance, the other one is general insurance. In the case of life insurance, it is the policy holder who has to determine the policy amount. He may insure for 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs or 50 lakhs provided he has the capacity to pay more premium. The higher the policy amount, the greater the premium payable by the policy holder. And when will the policy mature? That depends upon whether the policy is a whole life policy or an endowment policy. If it is a whole life policy, the policy will mature only on the death of the policy holder. So he will not be there to receive the amount will only be paid to his family. As far as an endowment policy is concerned, the policy is taken for a specific period like 10 years, 15 years or 20 years. And the policy will mature either on the maturity of the period of insurance or on the death of the policy holder, whichever happens first. Now, talking about general insurance, under general insurance we have fire insurance, marine insurance, vehicle insurance, etc. In the case of fire insurance, a building may be insured against fire accident, and when fire accident happens, the insurance company will assess the actual loss and settle the claim. In the case of marine insurance, the cargo that is sent by ship may be insured, and in the event of any loss, the insurance company will compensate it. The owner of the ship may insure the ship, and if the ship sinks and is lost, then the insurance company will settle the claim. This is about marine insurance. And of course, under vehicle insurance, you may insure your two-wheeler or four-wheeler. The period of insurance is 1 year. And if you make any claim during the period of 1 year, the insurance company will assess the loss and then settle the claim. At the end of the year, the policy becomes due for renewal and you have to renew the policy. We have certain well-defined principles of insurance about which we will see now. The first principle of insurance is the principle of utmost good faith. A contract of insurance is a contract of uberrime fide. That means trust and confidence. It is the duty of both the insurer and the insured to disclose all material facts affecting the contract of insurance. The insurer on his part will disclose all the material facts like the terms and conditions of the policy to the insured. The insured on his part has to disclose, in the case of life insurance, for example, he has to say whether he has had any illness in the past. If he conceals any information and the insurance company discovers it afterwards, the policy may be avoided. This is what is the principle of utmost good faith. Next, we have the principle of indemnity. The principle of indemnity says that it is only the actual loss that will be compensated. The insured will not be allowed to make a profit out of loss. Suppose a building is insured for rupees 5 lakhs and a fire accident happens. Actual loss is rupees 1 lakh only. Then the insurance company will pay only for the actual loss, that is rupees 1 lakh. And of course, in the case of life insurance, the principle of indemnity will not be applied. Contract of life insurance is not a contract of indemnity because the policy amount itself will be paid in the case of life insurance when the policy matures. Then the third principle is the principle of insurable interest. What is insurable interest? It is the benefit the policy holder receives on account of the existence of the subject matter and the loss he suffers on account of its destruction. This is what is the meaning of insurable interest. As far as life insurance is concerned, of course, a person has insurable interest in his own life. That's why he can insure his life for any amount, provided he has the capacity to pay more premium. A husband has insurable interest in the life of his wife, so he can also insure the life of his wife. A person can insure the lives of all his dependents. The fourth principle of insurance says causa proxima. The meaning of this principle is that it is only the nearest possible cause of the loss that will be looked into by the insurance company while settling the claim and not a remote cause. I will give you an example. Supposing, let us say 10,000 bags of rice is sent by ship. If the rice gets damaged because of the sea water entering the ship, then it comes within the purview of the policy, so the insurance company will settle the claim. Supposing the rice gets spoiled because of deterioration in quality, then the insurance company will not compensate the loss because it doesn't come within the purview of the policy. So it is only the nearest possible cause that will be looked into and not a remote cause. The fifth principle of insurance is the principle of mitigation of loss. It is the duty of the policy holder to mitigate, to minimize the quantum of loss to the extent possible. So when a fire accident takes place, it is the duty of the policy holder to at once inform the fire personnel, bring them to the spot and do everything possible to put out the fire. In other words, he has to behave as if the property is uninsured. Supposing he is complacent, he is just keeping quiet because the property is insured and in any way he is going to get compensation from the insurance company. And if the insurance company comes to know that he has shown negligence and has not made any efforts to mitigate the loss, then it need not have to pay the claim. It can avoid the policy. Next principle, principle number 6, principle of contribution. According to this principle, when the same subject matter is insured with more than one insurer, then at the time of loss, all the insurers will join together and pay for the loss in proportion to what each one has undertaken. I will give you an example. Supposing certain assets are insured with insurer A for rupees 10,000 and the same assets are insured with insurer B for rupees 20,000 and the actual loss is rupees 12,000. So here the liability of insurer A will be rupees 4,000. The liability of insurer B will be rupees 8,000 only, because insurer A's liability is 1/3 of the actual loss. Insurer B's liability is 2/3 of the actual loss. So insurer A has to pay rupees 4,000, insurer B has to pay rupees 8,000. Suppose insurer B himself pays 12,000, which is the actual loss, then he can recover rupees 4,000 from insurer A. This is what the principle of contribution says. Now, the seventh, the principle of subrogation. According to the principle of subrogation, once the claim of the policyholder is settled by the insurance company, afterwards the insurer can step into the shoes of the policyholder and proceed against the third party who has caused the loss and recover the full amount from him. So when there is a loss, the insurance company has paid the claim in full. So the insurer can take possession of whatever that remains after the loss, and he can take action against the third party who has caused the loss, who has caused the damage, and recover the full amount that the insurer has paid in the name of claim. I think we have finished discussing all the important principles of insurance. Now, few more things. As far as life insurance is concerned, all life insurance policies are subject to the suicide clause. So if the policyholder commits suicide, then the insurance company will not pay any claim. A life insurance policy may also be assigned in favor of somebody. It may be assigned in favor of a creditor. So when the policy becomes due, the money will be paid to the creditor. What is actually assignment? Assignment is the process of transferring one's right to another. So an insurance policy may be assigned in favor of a creditor. So when the policy becomes due for payment, the insurance company will pay the creditor who is now holding the policy. It has been assigned in his favor. The nomination facility is also available in insurance. So in life insurance, particularly, nomination facility is available. So the policy holder, the insured, may declare the name of the person or persons to whom the policy amount will have to be paid in the event of his death, or in the event of his death. So if the policy matures and he is alive, he himself will collect the money. But when he is not there and the policy matures because of his death, then the policy amount will be paid to the nominee. So the person whose name is mentioned in the policy as the nominee for the amount. Then surrender value. Sometimes the policy holder may not be able to continue the policy as per the original contract for the period of the policy. It may be 10 years or 15 years. So he wants to surrender the policy. Normally, a policy will not acquire any surrender value unless it has been run for a certain period of time, for a certain number of years. Then in the case of general insurance, fire insurance for example, the policy is always subject to what is called the average clause. The subject matter in fire insurance, in general insurance, it may be either overinsured or underinsured. See, overinsurance is automatically checked. For example, if your property worth rupees 5 lakhs is insured for 8 lakhs, and in the case of total loss, the insurance company will only pay rupees 5 lakhs and not 8 lakhs. That is about overinsurance. But normally, people underinsure. The reason is they want to pay minimum premium possible. So there is always a tendency to underinsure. Suppose a property worth rupees 1 lakh is insured for 80,000 and the actual loss is rupees 50,000. Then the insurance company will not pay 50,000, it will pay only 40,000 because the policy is subject to the average clause, and when the average clause is there, the claim will be calculated using the formula value of the policy. Claim is equal to value of the policy divided by full value of the subject matter into actual loss. So in the example I gave you, the value of the policy is only 80,000. Full value of the subject matter is 1 lakh. Actual loss is 50,000. So if you do the calculation, you will get rupees 40,000 only. That is the amount payable by the insurance company. I think in the available time, we have discussed all the important aspects of insurance. I am sure you would have found the discussion useful and interesting. Please share your feedback. We will again meet. This is Dr. J. Jaishankar signing off.